Welcome to this video. My name is Harold, and I'm going to go through the most, I'll say, and the best performing B2B ad setup that you can run for your company. And the best thing of this is that you only need $5 a day in budget. By the end of this video, you're going to learn about the system. You're going to learn how to set it up, how to structure the ads, how to write the ads, and also how to tie this into the greater system that we are talking about, which is a trust flywheel. Because in B2B sales, the number one currency, the most important thing you need to get right is build trust. Because if someone trusts you, that's making the sales and the marketing way easier. If someone doesn't trust you, it's all about convincing and trying to pitch them and trying to sell them. If they truly trust you, you are taking orders, not selling. So what we're going to do is I'm not going to scroll through. I'm going to scroll through and let's say highlight a couple of things, but you can scroll down and read this entire page because this is where you're going to find the ins and outs and explanations of how different things work. This video specifically is to show you how to do it. Because the core thing here is that if you already have leads, you need a way to segment them. And you need a way to then show ads to people at the appropriate time with appropriate frequency and cadence. And that's what this is all about. So when people typically get started with running ads for their company, targeting other companies, they think, okay, LinkedIn is the go-to place. However, they often oversee or let's say skip Meta, meaning Facebook and Instagram, entirely. Because people aren't scrolling on LinkedIn or Instagram, people aren't on Facebook. They are. No matter what you say, the data that I've seen for the past 14 years, they are. And since you get way more on Meta, the entire strategy here is that you want to segment your leads in cold, warm, and hot. And everyone that is in those different segments starts seeing ads from your company in different frequency. If you're in cold, you have 1 ad a day. If you're in warm, you have 3 ads a day. If you're in hot, you're going to see us absolutely everywhere all the time. And what that does is that it builds what we call the mere exposure effect. Meaning, the more someone sees a message, the more someone sees a company, the more they are inclined to see that company as an authority, as a credible source, and also someone trusted. Even if they don't disagree with everything they're saying, we implicitly, in our subconscious, value them more than if we've never seen them before. And what we then do is that we then show ads, and absolutely all ads are supposed to give someone value. And you can scroll down below and see more on how this actually works, how it's set up, how the different pieces are, getting the link to some sample ads, getting the link to custom GPT that we've created that can help you create these ads, the psychology behind it and how ugly ads typically perform the best, and how to actually build the actual campaign. But I actually want to show you this. So one thing that we have is that we use Encharge as the email system. It's by far the best in terms of being able to integrate and make all of this seamless. Because if someone opens an email, if someone clicks an email, if someone doesn't open an email, if they view a page, if they book, all of those things can be synced to Encharge so that you can give people points or remove points when a score from someone. And then, depending on the score someone has, they're either in a cold, warm, or hot segment. And if someone entered the cold because they lost the point, if they entered warm or hot because they gained a point, we sync that across. And what we then do is that we sync that across the custom audiences. So in Meta, because we're using Meta for this, so Facebook and Instagram, we are creating 3 custom audiences. You have the cold audience, the warm, and the hot audience. And how we do this is that we connect this to our ad account. And when people enter the cold segment, we add them to the cold audience on Meta and remove them from the warm and the hot. And we do that for warm and hot as well. So that way, no matter the current state of your leads, they're going to be one-to-one synced to your ads. Now, the next thing that we then do is that inside of our ad account, we create 2 things. So first thing that we want to create is that we want to create an audience. And in an audience, we go ahead. You can also create this audience from Encharge, but if I do this, you can see that I have evergreen, hot, warm, and cold. So I have 3, and you can also see created by Encharge. That is because when I connected my Facebook ad account to Encharge, I created the custom audience through there. So I have those 3. Now the question is, okay, I need to set up a campaign. And to then build these campaigns, people often do like, I want clicks, I want opt-ins, I want leads. We don't do that here. Because what we want to do is that we want to play to that familiarity. We want to be omnipresent, be visible all the time at all places, and we build to strengthen and play to that mere exposure effect. So we select awareness, then we hit continue, and this is then basically a 5-day retargeting B2B campaign. And the first thing we do is that we basically set a campaign budget. And for me, I set that to 55 Norwegian kroners, which is about 10 or $5 a day. I then go next. And this is where I'm starting to do more customization. So this is then evergreen cold segment. And maximize reach of ads, that's what we want. And we want to add a cap. And for example, here, I want a cap for everyone in cold to see 1 ad a day. So when they get introduced to our ecosystem, they get into our email list, they opt in for a page, we reach out and connect with them on LinkedIn, they come from an inbound lead, it doesn't matter where people come from, they get into the cold segment. And that's when they start seeing 1 ad a day on Facebook, Instagram, different places. So they see 1. Now, we're going to move then further down, and we're going to go to audience control. We're going to switch to original audience options and allow the further limitations because, again, we want to have full control. And this is where then we add a custom audience, and this is in cold. So B2B evergreen cold. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to remove the country. So this will then make it so this campaign and this target audience or this ad group or ad set, which is it's also called, only shows the ads within it to those that are in the cold segment, and its max cap is 1 ad a day. So we do that, then we go to the next, and this is where we add the ad. I'm just going to do add 1, and I'm going to scroll down, and I want to then update these things. So I'm going to then go ahead and go to the Google Doc that you have access to, and I'm going to do this. So this is the link to a video of the solution that we have. So I'm going to paste that in, and then I'm going to take the full text, and I'm going to go down and paste that into primary text. I'm going to remove the headline, trim it, and there we have the text. And then I want to paste in the headline. Now I want to add the image. So you add media, add image, and I've already uploaded this particular one to our account. So I'm going to select that one. And one thing that you want to make sure of when you do this is that you want to make sure that you can see the entire image. Next, I'm going to just ensure that this looks good. I'm going to hit next and done. There you have the ad. So what you then want to do is that you want to add several ads to this. And if you have come to this point now and you're seeing this for the first time and you haven't gone into what we talk about regarding emails and lead magnets, in the guide below, there should be links to how to write the emails and also how to create the lead magnets. Because this entire strategy, for you to truly build trust with your audience, you want to give them something valuable. And then you have quote unquote a lead magnet. I also just want to call that a resource, something that is educational. That could be a guide, it could be a video, it could be some templates, it could be a ChatGPT or a prompt, it could be a tool, it could be a webinar, it could be whatever. It's something that needs to be valuable. And what we then do is that we write an ad for that particular resource, linking directly to that resource. So if someone starts seeing this, you're basically going to give them a ton of different things. So you're going to give them a guide, access to a webinar recording, you're going to give them a tool, you're going to give them some prompts, you're going to give them some templates, a checklist, stuff like that. And that is going to be very, very valuable. So we're going to then add several ads. So I'm just going to now duplicate this for the sample, for the sake of this. So I now have the campaign on the left side. I have the first audience, which is an ad group, so the target group, which is a cold segment. And then I have the different ads. So that would be resource 1, resource 2. Now I want to duplicate the entire cold segment and cater that for the warm segment. And there are two things that I need to change. Obviously, the ad set name. I need to change the cap, so I'm going to take it to 3 times a day. And I need to change the custom list. So I'm going to do warm. I'm going to add that, remove cold, and then we're done. So the difference is that you're going to have all of the same ads, so all of the same resources people are going to get, but they get it at a different frequency. So now if I do this again, I do a quick duplicate original, I then have the final one, which is hot. Again, in terminology, you can change that, but this is, for example, 10 times a day. And I need to then change the audience to hot, remove cold, and then we're good. There's one final thing that I tend to do just for the sake of being able to track and attribute things in a better way. Okay, this was cool. I edit the wrong one. Is that for every ad at the very bottom, you have URL parameters. I always go to build a URL parameter, add parameter, do source, and if I click value, I'm going to get this drop down. And what I'm always going to do is I'm going to add campaign name, ad set name, and then I basically add them together and add a dash in between, ad name, and then ad ID. So that you can see it at the bottom. So source, campaign name, ad set name, ad name, and ad ID. That way, if I on the page, let's say I have a booking form, or I have an opt-in form, or a questionnaire, I always tend to have a hidden field in all of those called source. So if someone books a call from having clicked this link, I get the campaign name, the ad set name, the ad name, and the ad ID, so that I can go back and attribute that booking, that opt-in, that lead, and or that submission of a questionnaire to this particular ad. So I have that, I apply that, and I run that for all the ads that I have, and ensure that all ads have this tracking for URL parameter, because that gives you accurate tracking. However, you need to have this set up in a way where you then have that hidden field in your booking form, your questionnaire, or your opt-in form on the page that you're sending people to. But this is the setup. And one thing that I then want to show you is that this entire thing is really the engine. So that's the brief. Because if you run these cheap, efficient ads in Meta, so Facebook and Instagram, you target your existing leads with those resources. You can also then go ahead and build lookalike audiences, meaning here's everyone that we have in the cold, warm, and hot segment, or just one of them. And you can ask Facebook to find other people that are similar to that and add those to a separate campaign. But you have then the ability to take all the leads you have, segment them, and reach out to them in a frequency that match the engagement level that they have. Really few, or I haven't really heard anyone do this in the same way. Now, one thing that I also want to show you is that this is one part of a way bigger system. And I want to bring up that system for you because whatever your company does, you need first and foremost to generate leads. You can do that through outbound activities. You can do that through inbound activities. And inbound is really, you can run the paid ads. So you run the ads, people comment, they opt in, so they sign up. You can be on podcasts, so people find you through podcasts. You can do LinkedIn posting, you can do blogs. There's plenty of other inbound tactics. For outbound, meaning you're reaching out to people, you can send outreach, which is reaching out to people on LinkedIn. You can send cold emails, cold calling. You can also run paid ads. But the first thing, you need to generate leads. That's one of the things that we typically do. Like we typically, for most B2B companies, we say outreach and LinkedIn posting are two really good ways for you to generate traction and get the first leads, or at least get more lead flow going. Now you have those leads. Now the question is, okay, what do you do with them? And this is where we built our proprietary trust flywheel, which is completely different from what anyone really has said. And remember how we said that we had the segments? So what we have is that we have content. So people consume content, and then they engage with that. So read an email, read a guide, and they get points. That is what happens in the trust system. So in the trust system, we track their activity, we segment the leads based on the cold, warm, and hot, and then that changes the frequency and the channel that people get communication on. So that was the syncing in Encharge, where you had a cold segment, warm segment, hot segment. It's synced with tags and it's synced to Meta. And that's when we had the ad basically then link them the resource again, which allows them to engage with that resource. That allows us to rescore them, change them from cold, warm to hot, show them more ads, and that basically goes in a flywheel that just keeps on growing and growing and accelerating and going faster. And at the end of the day, people come down and they end up booking a call. So they build a pipeline. So you have a segment that is ready. You also have your calendar, your forms and reminders, which basically are the way that people get into your sales process, really. So what we have covered is one piece to this to ensure that people keep getting the thing at an appropriate rate so that they can engage with even more of what you have. So if you want to learn more about this and how this can help you generate leads, nurture those leads and build a trust, and then get them to repay that trust by paying you, down below there is a booking form. Find a time to book a call. We would like to give you a personalized strategy of how this would work for your company. Because if you are sick and tired of chasing short-term strategies, where you do something, it works, and then it stops working, or if you do something and it just messes up your reputation, and you don't want to be dependent on referrals, you don't want to be pushy, you don't want to be salesy, and let's say the perception of you and your brand is super important to you, this is the thing that you guys need. And I'm not saying this to tout my own horn. This is the core concept most companies miss. And I want to give it to you. So down below, you can find a time. It's a completely free strategy session with us, with an advisor in our company, that will go through and learn more about your company and suggest how you can implement this for your company, personalized, and you can go out of that call with a strategy. If that sounds interesting, click down below, find a time, and we will happily bring you through the process of how this would work and how you should do this in your company. That was it for this video. So if that sounds interesting, click down below. If not, I hope this was an interesting video. And if you haven't read down below the more detailed things on how things work in terms of how to do the ads, how to write them, these types of things, scroll down below, read it all, and hopefully we will see that you booked a call with us so that we can provide you with even more value. That's it. I hope you have a great rest of your day.